CURES is sponsored by Wheeler Health's Better Choice program. More at wheelerhealth.org.
Helping you lead a healthier life. This is CURES.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the CURES Show, where we explore cutting-edge wellness from credible sources. I'm Kara Sundlin. We are happy that you're here. It's really no secret. Life doesn't always go as we plan. So what if instead of changing your circumstances or moving from whatever you don't like, you actually focused on growing and blooming where you're already planted? Joining us to talk about that idea is inspirational life coach, educator, and speaker, Diane Lang, who's a positive psychologist. Thank you so much. You practice positive psychology. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. This idea of blooming where we're planted is all about accepting change. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah, it's really about accepting where you are at the moment, because when we're in the moment, we're not either stuck in the past where we're thinking about what we should have done, what we could have done, regrets. We're carrying all that past baggage with us. And we're not in the future where we're having that anticipatory anxiety where we're worrying about what could be or what might be. So when we get into the moment and accept what is, we're in the present, which is where we're our most creative and productive and where we can naturally de-stress. So it's a really good place to start from.
Yeah, I love that. I've heard that before, and I'm just going to repeat it. I love the idea that, when we're stressed out, when we're thinking in the future, we're usually anxious. When we're thinking in the past, we're usually dealing with guilt and regret. So the present moment really is freedom. But getting there isn't as easy as that sounds, right?
I wish it was. But no, being mindful is a natural way to distress. And the one thing to put out there is there's so many different ways to be mindful. When people think of mindfulness, they usually think about like meditation or taking a yoga class. And those are all intentional practices of being mindful. But there's so many other ways. So we can have like an emotional toolbox filled with different tools that help us stay in the moment and naturally de-stress.
Yeah. So let's talk about blooming where you're planted. For those who might be in the ambitious column, little type A, and I fall into that a little bit of always trying to achieve things. I think I'm getting a little better as I get older, but definitely I have this goal. What do I do to get there? You're always looking at the next thing. I see this in my kids, right?
Yes.
The teenagers, the next thing. I want to go here. I want to get this. I want to get that. So if you want to achieve something, it might sound like you're giving up when you say, oh, just accept things as they are. That's not what you mean, right?
No, not at all. So I am a type A as well. I think any of us who grew up in the New York City tri-state area, and I'm from New York originally, we are just type A. It's kind of a learned behavior in this area. But either way, acceptance is not giving up or quitting. Because I know I've had a lot of clients who felt like that. Acceptance is I'm going to accept where I am at the current moment. Because if I don't, I'm going to be resisting what is. And we can't control a lot of things in our lives. And when we try to control something that is not in our control, it just adds to our frustration and our stress. So when we let go of the resistance, we stop fighting, then we can actually be mindful and we can get some clarity on what our next steps should be, because we would have time to process, heal, and work through whatever it is we're going through, and then take steps forward.
Okay, so a lot of this is about creating balance and finding happiness like right now, not in the future. I'll be happy when. I want to show folks your book. You have a book called Mindfully Happy, Waking Up to Life. And so you've got lots of them out there, but this one is Mindfully Happy. And we can follow you at Instagram, Diane Lang Coaching. I know you also teach this to college students. What do we really, like, what's a practice that we need to do if we want to, still achieve our goals or still feel like we are blooming, blossoming, but maybe we're not going somewhere else or doing something totally different? It seems to me you're asking us to learn how to be content in a way.
Yes, content is good because it allows you to feel good in the moment and be happy with what you have. And one of the easiest steps that I love that is a positive psychology intervention or a happiness habit is gratitude. Because when we're feeling grateful for what we have, thankful, whatever word you prefer, we are actually, one, cultivating happiness, because gratitude is a positive emotion. So we get that boost of happiness. But on the other side, gratitude is also a form of mindfulness, and we get both. So I like to think of gratitude as a superpower. And if it's done every day and it becomes part of your routine, which I have it as part of my routine, I am doing gratitude every day. It literally starts rewiring our brain to notice the good instead of the bad. And happiness is a perspective. Where are you putting your focus, your attention? If you put it on the negative, then only the negative exists. If you put it on the good, it doesn't mean the negative doesn't exist, but you're able to see the good in a bad situation or the purpose in a painful situation, which also cultivates resiliency. So there's a lot there just from being grateful every day. And it's really one of the easiest habits that you can do. Won't change your schedule, but will make a really big difference.
Yeah. What does your habit look like? How do we make it intentional every day?
So I do gratitude at night because I want to have some mindfulness at night, because whatever we're thinking about 20 to 30 minutes before we go to bed affects if we sleep, how we sleep, what mood we wake up in, and how we dream. So at night, you could either write it as a gratitude journal if you love writing, or you could say it out loud, say it in your head. But I just ask myself, what are two to three things, couldn't say that I'm grateful for that happened today?
Yeah.
And I start looking through my day for the little gifts, blessings, and miracles. And it could be I got a good parking spot, or I made it into work before the rain fell. I could be having a good hair day, had the best cup of coffee. It could be the smallest things. I mean, we do this with kids and they'll just say there were goldfish today, or they had chicken nuggets for lunch. It doesn't matter what it is. It's just really the point of looking through your day to see the little gifts, blessings, and miracles. And after you do this consistently for a few weeks to a few months, it starts becoming an autopilot habit. And you'll notice even when things go bad, and this happened the other day, I was driving and I got stuck in traffic, which is, normal here in the New York City area. And I usually get upset. And instead of getting upset, I was like, oh, you know what? I'm grateful that I have my Sirius satellite on because I love all the different stations and the podcast. I could just listen to whatever I want. And I also get to have the rest of my coffee. I'm not rushing. And it really just put me into a state of gratitude instead of a state of road rage, which is really easy to happen if you live around here.
Yeah. In the tri-state area for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
So when we go through difficulties, I think at first we're like, oh my God, I didn't want that to happen. What you're saying is you're not saying don't pretend you don't feel that way. Feel your feelings, but then you make a choice to frame it, which is your own mindset of, okay, what can I learn from this?
Absolutely. We want you to feel your feelings. You have to feel to heal. There's no way around it. When we stuff everything down or we just push it down, it's eventually going to rear its ugly head, whether it comes out emotionally, snappy, irritable, burnout, or it affects us physically. We don't want either. So please feel your feelings, identify them, acknowledge them, process them to get to the other side. But remembering that if you're human and you are just doing what you normally want to do, setting goals, action steps to get there, you're going to have some setbacks, failures, and mistakes. It's just part of life. And in knowing that and embracing that can make it much easier than having that self-talk of nothing works out for me, or catastrophizing that, everything is bad. And if you do feel like that and you get that catastrophizing feeling where you just think everything is bad, start fact checking. Like really look at your life and look at it from different areas. I just had a client I went through this with. She did lose her job and that was really horrible. But even though that happened, when we looked at the rest of her life, her family is healthy. She has a good relationship with her kids and her spouse. She had so much else going on. Her own health was good. She had a really good spiritual and religious practice she was happy with. So really looking at your life from a holistic standpoint, not just looking at one area that's going wrong.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's what they mean when they say the devil's in the details. We can certainly we can focus on what's going wrong. And you're asking us to take that moment, knowing that focus is going to enhance and expand whatever you focus on. So choosing to kind of use our focus like that remote control, we can switch a channel. Let's talk about some of the practical things. You mentioned you give your clients a stick shift. You give your clients a stick figure exercise. Can we talk about that?
Yes. Stick shift just brought me back to when I learned how to drive, just
Yeah.
showed my age there. But we have an exercise, I just call it the stick figure, where in the middle of just paper and pen, going very old school on this, just draw a stick figure. And on either side of it, you want to put down your skills, your quality traits, the things that you really like about yourself. And it could be anything personally or professionally from, you know, you could have empathy, compassion, kindness, loyalty, interpersonal skills, whatever it is, just put that down. On the other side, put down all your accomplishments. And that could go all the way back to literally getting your driver's license, graduating from high school, graduating from college, to where you are today. Then on the bottom of it, you want to put down all the roles you play, from vegetarian to mother, daughter, sister, best friend, coworker, therapist, journalist, whatever it is that the roles you have at the moment. And when you look at this piece of paper with everything on it, it gives you a really good image of who you are. Because again, it's very easy for us to self-talk and go down the negative and think that we haven't done anything, we haven't made an impact, we're not doing anything important. But when you see this sheet, it reminds you of how far you've come. Now, this could take a few days because, I mean, honestly, with my age going all the way back, can take some time. And you can also keep it near your bed or your computer, wherever you'll see it, and add to it because you're always learning and growing. So there'll be new strengths that pop up and new accomplishments and maybe more roles. Maybe you're now a caretaker as well. But really looking at your life from a real holistic standpoint to see everything, to see the clear picture. And that can boost your self-esteem when you see it, especially on those bad days when you're feeling down and you didn't sleep well and you wake up and you have to go to work and it's Groundhog Day. Just really take a look at it and see your life for what it truly is.
Yeah. So if you are not where you wanted to be, let's say, maybe someone has some financial goals and they're trying to dig out and they're finding themselves deeply in debt and they're going, well, that sounds good, but I don't want to bloom here. I want to change things. And I don't know how I'm doing that. I love that you're teaching us to control the controllable, but if someone really doesn't like where they are in their life at that moment, how do we acknowledge that and still do the blooming part?
Well, again, if you're in a place of feeling stuck, right? A lot of us feel stuck, stale, stagnant. That can lead to that unworthiness feeling of I'm not good enough, I'm not lovable enough. No one is saying not to feel those feelings. You can't bloom where you're planted if you're not acknowledging what you feel. So take the time to feel whatever you're feeling. And if you need more help than that, then absolutely please put yourself in counseling or coaching where you can get the support that you need. But if not, sometimes it's just processing what you feel. And it's also looking at each area. So you brought up financial. So I'm just going to use that as an example. So let's say that your finances are not that good at the moment. And then you start really thinking about it and you notice you have a pattern. And that's the key word. If you have a pattern of always having money issues, finances always being an issue, then you really want to look at the belief system that's behind that area of your life that just keeps not working. Because a lot of times we're holding on to a belief system that goes all the way back to childhood. We get most of our beliefs between birth and about 8-9 years old. We get them from people who raised us. And even though they might have meant well, a lot of times it's just hearing a lot of the negative. And when we hold on to that negative and we really hear it all the time, we start repeating it in our head all the time, it becomes our own belief system. And that belief can keep you negative and stuck because that's what you truly believe. And then every time something doesn't work, you're like, oh, of course I'm having a hard time paying bills this month. I'm not good at finances. Money doesn't grow on trees. And we keep that belief system that keeps you stuck. So you also want to acknowledge and really do some mindset work, and knowing that mindset is in your control. So it is something you can work on, is what are my belief systems on the areas of my life that have a pattern of not working and keeping me stuck? And then you can challenge that belief system. Is that belief really true? Is it based on truth or fact? Is it outdated, limiting? Is it not serving me or helping me in any way? Because you can get rid of the belief system, but you really have to acknowledge what it is first. And then you have to start challenging it for it to change, and know that it takes time. So that's where you need that self-compassion and kindness, because it does take time for a new belief system to form.
Okay. And that's where you say it's important also to visualize your next chapter. What do you mean by that?
So you can use visualization in a few different ways. So you can either, if you have something going on, let's say at work, maybe you have to do a presentation next week and that makes you nervous, right? A lot of my college students say they'd rather die than public speak. A little harsh, but that's what they really feel. I'll tell them for the next week, every morning when you wake up, before you even get out of bed, just for 2 to 3 minutes, that's all we need is 2 to 3 minutes, visualize the outcome. Visualize that you're up there at the podium, you are speaking to the class, what you're wearing, what you feel, what you're saying, see the PowerPoint behind you, really visualize using every ounce of detail, use all of your senses, and it really brings you to that moment. Because your brain can't tell the difference if it happened already or it's happening now, so you really feel it. And when you can see it, you can believe that you're going to get there. And it also helps raise our self-esteem to see it and see it happening and knowing that we have the ability to do it. And it also helps clarify if it's a good vision or what you want to change with it. So you can use it that way if you have something coming up, or you could just use it with a common goal that every morning you visualize what your life will look like when that goal is done. What will it feel like? What will it look like? Who will you be with? Really, again, visualize it. Visualization is such an important skill. And I have to say, I'm not visual spatial. I had to really learn that skill of visualization. I had to practice for a really long time, but it really does help to really feel more confident about what we need to do, especially if we're very fearful about it.
Yeah. And so the visualization, I love that. That can be, I often tell my kids, like, oh, try and do that, and whether or not they're going to listen to me as teenagers. But certainly we know that Olympic athletes are taught by the best coaches in the world to envision themselves winning and getting that time they want. Walt Disney said, if you can dream it, you can do it. So I guess what you're asking us to do that. There is that voice in the head that you're not doing enough. Oh, how is this going to help? Or, well, that's not real. That's not practical. What do you do with that angry voice who might be saying, well, you should be farther along than you are, or you should have gotten this, or, maybe you are giving yourself credit for some of the things, but you're like, oh, but it's not exactly where I wanted to be.
Well, one, again, remind yourself that all your setbacks, failures, and mistakes that lead you to feel like, oh, I should have been doing better, I should have been here at a certain age, are not based on anything but your belief system. So you want to really think about knowing that setbacks, failures, and mistakes are really just shifting you into a new path where you're supposed to be. Like if you look back in life and look at some of your biggest mistakes or failures, professionally or personally, if they didn't happen to you, you wouldn't be where you are today.
Yeah.
So if you didn't get fired from that job, you wouldn't have started your own business. If you didn't lose that relationship, which really hurt at the time, you wouldn't find the right person who you're married to now. There really is a reason for things happening. So remembering that each mistake or failure really moved you in a direction where you needed to be. And also reminding yourself that all these mistakes, failures, and setbacks are just teachable, learnable moments. And you really want to sit down and ask yourself, what did I learn from this situation? What is the lesson here? And it could be a lesson about the situation. It could be a lesson about patterns that you keep repeating, just getting an aha moment to be aware. Or it could be a lesson about yourself, something you need to do differently. But when you learn the lesson, then you don't repeat it over and over again, and you can make the changes and grow in the direction that you want to. So instead of beating yourself up and just staying in the negative rumination of not being good enough, it's more, what am I going to learn from this, and what changes can I make moving forward so this doesn't happen again, or I do it in a better way than I did before. So think of it more as a teachable, learnable moment.
Yeah. We're going to take a moment and just hear from one of our sponsors, and we'll be right back to talk about more about how you can bloom where you're planted.
Struggling with gambling? Wheeler Health's Better Choice program offers personalized support and treatment to help you regain control. Visit wheelerhealth.org to learn more and take the first step towards recovery today.
I'm here with Diane Lang. We're talking about how you can bloom where you planted and how you content. I think that I can think of people in my life where they really just seem happy and content with like the little things in life. And then there are those who are just always striving, striving, striving. So, there's different, those people who look like they're just happy to maybe watch a show or have a cup of coffee, or that's something you would like us to get better at, is really appreciating the little things.
It really is noticing the small wins. It's really about noticing just the little things, because those small successes really lead to the big, success. So thinking about, if I wanted to lose 20 pounds, right? I'm not just going to notice that I've lost 20 pounds. It's going to take months. It's noticing that every week I lost a pound, and every week, instead of going for that caffeinated beverage that was unhealthy for me, instead I had a glass of water. Instead of having 2 cookies, I only had 1 cookie. It's really noticing the small changes, because those lead to the big changes. They build momentum and keep you motivated moving forward, because to really form a new habit, for it to become autopilot, the way you brush your teeth, tie your shoes, you don't think about it, you just do it. You need about 2.5 to 3 months of doing that habit consistently. So if you stick there, it will come, which is good to know with New Year's resolutions coming, but also knowing that it does take time and that you do need to notice those small wins, and remembering that every notice of just even the smallest things is a little bit of positive reinforcement. It positively reinforces the good behaviors, the good action steps, the good habits. And again, it builds that motivation and momentum to move forward. So noticing it all, even just spending a little time really like savoring it, like, wow, I did, I noticed today I wanted cookies, but I did not eat them. And I made it through the day, and really feeling good about it, which gives you pride and accomplishment, which are 2 positive emotions that actually boost happiness at the same time. So really not just notice them, but savor those moments.
Interesting. In fact, you want us to define happiness as well, as in, what are 3 to 5 things that cultivate happiness for you? I'm thinking of an interview I did with Deepak Chopra a year or 2 ago, where he talked about, we kind of need to redefine success. So if you're thinking, I want to be a multimillionaire, and you look at your bank account and it's not there, and you're like, oh, I failed, or I want to be this. So really, I guess what we yearn for is sometimes different than what we're striving for. So really knowing what gives us real happiness.
You're really sitting down and thinking about, how do you define happiness? Because a lot of us, as we got older, like when we think about our teens or our 20s, we're a little bit more self-absorbed, because we can be. We don't have kids, we don't have a mortgage, we don't have a family. But as we get older and we have kids and we get a house and we get married, all our happiness becomes dependent on everybody else, because we're so busy caretaking. And a lot of times we don't even know what makes us happy anymore. So really sitting down and asking yourself, how do I define happiness? What brings happiness to me no matter what's going on, whether it's a good day or a bad day? What makes you happy just for you? I mean, we're all happy when our kids are happy, our family's healthy and happy, but our kids are going to get their own lives and move on. We need to be able to be happy for ourselves. So really thinking about that and writing down like the top 3 to 5 things that cultivate happiness for you, and then putting that into your schedule the way you would a PTA meeting, a doctor or a dentist appointment, a business meeting, making yourself a priority. Because when we don't, and we put ourselves on the bottom of that priority list, or as a client said to me, am I supposed to even be on the priority list? Then you're not getting any self-care. You're not getting that happiness. And that's where we start to get into that burnout, because we're not taking care of ourselves and we can't give what we don't have. So spend some time really looking at that. And you could redefine what success means to you too, because when we made our plans of what we wanted our life to look like, we always shift them once we hit midlife. So if you're somewhere in midlife, you might be really thinking about, well, it didn't turn out the way I planned, or it did, and it didn't bring me the happiness I wanted. And then reevaluating what you want your next chapter to look like. We can always change. That is the good news. We're flexible.
Yeah. And I think so often, we're just going on from one thing to the next. You mentioned caretaking. I'm a mom also, and, trying to, I totally agree with that. We're only as happy as the least happy child. So sometimes you're trying to teach this kind of thing to your kids or your spouse, or like, oh gosh, and I think I probably say it's nothing more than annoying that my kids are venting and I say, let's focus on the good. But how do we kind of help others adopt these principles? I know we can only control ourselves, but as a lot of people who are women watching the show are probably going, yeah, how do I help my husband feel better about his career where maybe he thought he's supposed to be farther along, or my kids where they're like, I don't know if I'm getting into the school I wanted, and really helping grow this idea of blooming where you're planted so that your whole family can have a little more happiness in the now.
Well, remembering most of our kids, when they're young, through about birth to about puberty, which could be anywhere from 10 to 14, they learn through observation, role modeling, and imitation. So you doing self-care, you being positive, you looking on the bright side, seeing the silver lining is actually teaching your kids or your grandkids to follow suit, which is why a lot of us didn't do self-care. Because when you look back and you think about, did any of our parents ever talk about self-care?
No.
Probably not. So we didn't learn it. We didn't even realize to do it. So just role modeling that behavior is really important, showing them, because our words are one thing, but our actions are another. And even for our adult kids, when they see us doing, certain activities that take care of ourselves, or see us looking on the positive side and pointing out the positive, yes, it might get on their nerves. I know, I'm a mom too. But eventually it starts sticking in. So you want to keep at it and you want to be supportive, but we do have to remember, right, we don't have the ability to control or change anybody. And it's not our job to fix anybody's problems or create happiness for them. We could just be their support system, and we could be there for them. And being in a healthy relationship means you're there when things are bad and you're there to be supportive, but you're also there when things are good, cheering them on, which is something they'll look forward to as well. So being that positive reinforcement for them is just as important.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. We only have a couple minutes left. I want to show everyone the book as well. I know you've written a few, but as we talk about cultivating contentment and blooming where you're planted, you could get Diane's book. It's Mindfully Happy. It's on Amazon or DianeLang.org. And I know you write on your blog lots of great things. So thank you so much, Diane, for being here. We have less than a minute left. If there's one thing that someone could take away to maybe cultivate a little bit more of this happiness, what would you say?
I would say to just really get as many positive emotions during your day that you can. We're always going to have negative emotions. It could be the weather, it could be traffic, it could be the news. But really try to get as many positive emotions: love, joy, happiness, kindness, gratitude, pride, accomplishment. When we get a daily dose of positive emotions, it really balances out the negative emotions. And you can get them by giving or receiving. So really try to get as many as you can. We really are what we digest, not just food and drink, but what we watch on TV, what we listen to, what we see. Really try to make it positive. It does make a difference.
All right. Diane Lang with Positive Psychology. We appreciate it. Thank you so much for being here. And everyone at home, thanks for watching or following the CURES podcast on whatever platform. Have a great day and be well.
CURES is sponsored by Wheeler Health's Better Choice program. More at wheelerhealth.org.